What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and today we're going to be talking about Sundial stock and some of the changes that have happened over the past couple of days for the company. We're going to cover the earnings call, we're going to cover some legalization catalysts, and I'm going to talk generally about why I'm not very worried that Sundial has, unfortunately, been falling for the past couple of weeks. I mean, it's been pretty brutal to be a Sundial holder. I mean, it's been pretty brutal to be in the market at all. Everything has been falling pretty much, and there are reasons for the overall market to fall as well as Sundial, so we're going to talk about those, and we're going to talk about why I'm not very worried, why I think that Sundial will be doing very well in the future. But first, we'll cover the Sundial earnings call, which was actually quite good. Okay, their net revenue for the first quarter of 2022 was $17.6 million. And that only includes 1 day of revenue from Alcana, which we're going to cover after this, right? We'll talk about what Alcana has been doing earnings-wise, and it's notable that this is an increase, 78% over the first quarter of 2021. So impressive stuff. Now, Alcana, their revenues for the first quarter were $162 million of revenue. Okay, that's not earnings, right? That's not operating profits. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but overall, Sundial's operating profits were negative $0.7 million, so a very small loss, right? They didn't actually make money in the first quarter, and they explained this was largely driven by central bank interest rate changes and fair value adjustments related to Sunstream, one of Sundial's joint ventures, and understandable, right? It was a very tough quarter for every company, not just Sundial, and it makes a lot of sense that they did end up having a small loss. Now, fortunately, it is a very small loss, $0.7 million, and for a company of Sundial size, that's not all that much. I mean, when you consider the fact that they have $1 billion of cash, marketable securities, and long-term investments, and $361 million of that is actually unrestricted cash. I mean, Sundial has quite a bit to play with. They have quite a bit of growing to do in the future. They have many opportunities that can be presented to them, and they have the cash necessary to take full advantage of those opportunities. In addition to the fact that over the past couple of weeks, really, their value has been pushed down dramatically. I mean, they got pushed down as low as 34 cents per share. Absolutely crazy, considering how much value they have in terms of their assets, right? $1 billion of cash, marketable securities, and long-term investments. And what's even more impressive about them is the fact that they did just acquire Alcana. And when you look at Alcana's earnings, what they did for the first quarter, they actually had an operating profit of $3.2 million. Now, this was lower than their 2021 quarter one because obviously every company is suffering a bit during this time that we're in. It is unfortunately just a slow time for the market, a slow time for the overall economy. A lot of companies are suffering, but they still did come out with a $3.2 million profit. And now that they are part of Sundial, if you add those operating profits together, right, the $3.2 million from Alcana and the negative $0.7 million from Sundial, you actually have a net profit of $2.5 million. So all things considered, they would have been a profitable company had Alcana been factored in the entire time, right? So all things considered, very good stuff for Sundial and for Alcana. Now, obviously, that's not being reflected in the price very much, right? We have been falling quite a bit, and it is unfortunate for a lot of people to see. A lot of people are very disgruntled by this. A lot of people don't like to see their accounts moving down day after day, but it is completely understandable that Sundial has been falling, and a lot of people were thinking that Sundial would actually be skyrocketing around this time. A lot of people thought that come April, when Chuck Schumer was meant to introduce legalization for Sundial, that we would be skyrocketing, and I was thinking that at the time until he delayed that legalization bill, which he's now going to introduce in August. But in my opinion, it's actually a really good thing that he delayed that bill, because if you look at what's gone on with Sundial, obviously it's moved down. And if you look at what's going on with the market, you can see why it's been moving down, right? The market has been in an incredibly tough period for the past half a year, essentially. I mean, it's just been downhill all the way, essentially, for the overall market. And that does excuse a lot of what's happened with Sundial, right? Everything has been moving down. It's not just Sundial, it's the whole market. And in my opinion, if we did get a legalization bill introduced and a lot of legalization hype come April, that would not actually have been an ideal situation, because in my opinion, if the market is tanking and people are in full fear mode, it's not going to lead to as big of a pump when we do get a big catalyst like legalization coming in. And unfortunately, a lot of people are just going to be scared at a time when they should be excited for these companies that would have been seeing a big legalization catalyst. A lot of people are still going to be scared just because the market's been tanking. And so, in my opinion, I think it was actually really good, looking back, that we didn't see those legalization catalysts play out in April, that they have been delayed until August, when we'll likely have a better economy. I mean, hopefully we've hit the lows of this market downturn. There's no guarantees that that's the case. But hopefully these are the lows, and hopefully we can at least steady out for a couple of weeks or months and then start rising by the time August comes around, by the time Chuck Schumer starts to introduce those legalization bills into the Senate. And hopefully that will be a much more amenable environment for Sundial to be pumping up in, right? That's my hope, that the whole economy can start coming back over the next couple of months, because that's what you really want. You don't want to be in a market crash and to expect some stocks to be pumping up, because even if they do pump up, it wouldn't be as big of a pump as we could potentially be getting if things were going well. So overall, things are going very well for Sundial. We can see that in their earnings, especially with their acquisition of Alcana. Things are going very well. We don't have any worries regarding bankruptcy or anything like that. They're doing great. They have a bunch of cash, they have a bunch of assets, and they have time, right? They have time to wait. We don't need this thing to pump up in the next couple of weeks when we would get a smaller pump than we would hope for. I'm happy enough to wait until August, when hopefully things have simmered down in the overall global economic system. Maybe Russia and Ukraine will be less in the news and less of an issue. Hopefully that situation will wrap itself up, and hopefully we can see some good stuff for cannabis legalization in August, and that could be a big catalyst for Sundial stock. So that's really what I'm waiting for. And obviously, there are going to be smaller things along the way. There are going to be buybacks. There are going to be potential reverse splits and a whole bunch of other things trying to get Sundial to avoid delisting. And we'll make a whole video on that. We'll talk about that. But other than that, guys, that's the information I wanted to get out to you today. And hopefully you appreciate it. Keep in mind, none of it's financial advice. If you enjoy the video, feel free to subscribe. And other than that, have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.